this is a review of the Edgenuity lesson, Factoring Polynomials, Difference of Squares. In the Edgenuity video, again, they use the X method a lot. When you have a difference of squares, to recognize it, if I had let me write what the actual rule is, a squared minus b squared. So the key is you can only have two terms. We've been factoring a lot of things that have three terms. If it's a difference of squares, it's two terms. It has to be subtraction. You can't do it if it's addition. So it has to be subtraction, hence the word difference. And then the two values have to be perfect squares. So the way it would factor, if you have something squared minus something squared, it factors into a plus b times a minus b is how it works. So there are a lot of questions on the quiz that just ask you to find the square root of certain values. So if I had to find the square root of 36y to the 16th, the square root of 36 is 6. And then when you square root, when you have an exponent, you just divide it by 2. So if I want to square root y to the 16th, I would divide the 16 by 2 and say that this is 6y to the 8th power. So then looking at this one, square root of 16 is 4. And then if I want to square root x to the 36th power, I just divide the 36 by 2, which is 18. On this one, the square root of 100n squared, square root of 100 is 10. And then if I do if I square root n squared, 2 divided by 2 is just 1. So it's just 10n there. And then lastly, the square root of 36 is 6. And then the square root of x to the 4th, divide that 4 by 2, and we get 2, 6x squared. Okay, so now let's look at actually factoring. So we have on all of these, there's just two terms. They're all subtraction, and if you notice, all the values are perfect squares. This first one is x squared minus 9 squared. And I always like to write it out like this, so that when I factor it, I use the correct number and don't accidentally use the 81. So if this is x squared minus 9 squared, it will factor into x plus 9, x minus 9. Looking at the second one, x squared minus 16, this is x squared minus 4 squared. So those are my perfect squares there. It will factor into x plus 4, x minus 4. So one positive and one negative. This one here, when you write this out as a perfect square, don't forget about the number. So 25x squared, that's really 5x squared, because you would, if I distributed this back through, we'd have to square the 5 and the x, minus 8 squared. So this will factor into 5x plus 8 and 5x minus 8. And lastly, we have 49b to the 6th power. So in the quiz, make sure you pay attention to what the exponent is, minus 81. So this would be 7b cubed. Okay, so remember when you square root it, because that's what we're writing the square root part here in the parentheses, you just divide that exponent by 2, and 6 divided by 2 is 3, minus 9 squared. So this will factor into 7b cubed plus 9 and 7b cubed minus 9.